Have you ever wondered what love under will really means in Thelema? It's one of the most profound but misunderstood concepts in the philosophy. Is it about being romantic? Is it about being compassionate? Or is it something deeper than that? In this video, we're diving deep into the heart of Thelema to understand what love under will really means and to learn how to harness its power for self-transcendence and self-transformation. Let's dive in. So there are two central tenets to Thelema. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, and love is the law, love under will. This implies that understanding love under will is essential to understanding Thelema. But in order to understand love under will, you need to understand two concepts, love and will. There's a lot of confusion about what love means in the concept of Thelema. It's not just the romantic bond between two people. It's not simply friendship. It's not simply being nice. It's not simply compassion. In Thelema, love means change. Here are a couple of supporting quotes. In the new comment on L129, Crowley says, "In order to have motion, one must have change. In fact, one must have this in order to have anything at all. Now, this change is what we call love. Thus, love under will is the law of motion." Also, in the Geradensis comment on L29, he says, "Hadith now saith to all that they should be mindful of the nature of that which exists. It is pure joy, since all events are acts of love under will." Think of love as the force that makes life dynamic, like gravity pulling celestial bodies together, or the spark of a seed that causes it to transform into a giant oak tree. It's the principle that drives motion, connection, and evolution. This quote is useful because it also gives us a clue as to why Crowley defines love this way. He says all events are acts of love under will. In the 1938 introduction to the Book of the Law, he says, "Every event is a uniting of some one monad with one of the experiences possible to it." By monad in this context, Crowley means hadith. He's speaking about the essence of consciousness, the irreducible individual point of view. In other words, every time we experience something, it represents the union or the love between the irreducible point of consciousness within us, hadith, and the infinity of possibilities, or nuit. It's the union of our consciousness with the universe. Reflect on your own experience right now. Notice how all of your sensations are constantly changing in subtle ways. Your attention constantly shifts from one thing to another. If you try to focus your attention on one thing, you'll notice that the sensations composing that object are constantly shifting and changing as well. That constant turnover or churn of experiences and sensations that's happening all of the time, that is what is called love in Thelema. Love in Thelema includes what we ordinarily consider to be love. It also includes hate, and it includes things that have nothing to do with human sentiment at all, like gravity or chemical interactions. In Thelema, love is a metaphysical and a cosmological principle. Will also has an unusual meaning in Thelema. We ordinarily think of will as goal-driven or purposeful behavior. For example, I would say it is my will to get the breakfast special at IHOP this morning. It's something I desire to do, and so I'm going to expend effort and energy to accomplish that task. We also talk about will or purpose in a kind of broader sense. For example, we might say that it is my ultimate purpose or my will to have a career in finance or to retire in Mexico or something like that. These are long-term goals that reflect our personality and our values. We can also think of will in terms of general purpose in life. This is not a particular outcome, such as going to the store or even landing a particular job. It's more like the intrinsic value that you bring to life. This is what Crowley referred to as your finite true will. It's not a particular thing or a particular task. It's more like your nature or a way of being. Crowley thought it was essential that every person discover what their finite true will is. In fact, he considered it to be the first task, or at least one of the first tasks, of a Thelemite. If you're interested in discovering your finite true will or getting more clarity about it, you should check out Will Discovery. In Will Discovery, I work one-on-one with you to help you discover and to put into words your finite true will. In Will Discovery, you share with me the most formative and impactful experiences of your life. As you talk, I listen for the underlying patterns in those stories, themes that Go across all the stories that you may not have noticed before. And then together, you and I take the themes from those stories and we put together what's called the will statement. This is a succinct statement of your finite will or your overall purpose in life. This statement is like your North Star. It brings clarity to your life and it helps align all of your choices with who you truly are. If will discovery sounds interesting to you, click the link in the description for this video to see my availability. Now, from the perspective of the finite true will, love under will really means bringing about changes in life, making those choices that align most closely with who you truly are. I find it useful to think about this in terms of the 12 houses of the zodiac. In astrology, the 12 houses represent different facets of your personality and your life. For example, aligning the second house, which has to do with money and possessions, with your true will, might mean making financial or material choices that allow you to go for your highest purpose. In the third house, communication, it could mean aligning your speech with your intrinsic values. It could mean speaking more transparently and honestly. Each house becomes a way of expressing your will through deliberate, aligned action. Each time we align one of these houses with our true will, we are engaged in an act of love under will. Now, there's an even higher concept of the will, which is called the infinite true will. The infinite true will is the will of the star or the God within you to realize itself. This is the drive of the God within you to know itself and its universe through your mind, your thoughts, your ego, your body, and your magic. Knowing your finite true will means knowing yourself in the ordinary sense of understanding your personality, your temperament, your natural gifts, and the general kind of vibe that you give off around you, the natural gift that you're bringing into the world. Knowing your infinite true will is more exalted. It's a little bit more like understanding Buddha nature, or maybe in the context of Thelema, we would say Rahor Kuit nature. Discovering your finite true will is like planting your feet firmly on the ground. It's knowing who and what you are and where you're going. Knowing your infinite true will is a bit like lifting your eyes to the stars. It's about seeing all of this within an unfolding cosmological and metaphysical context. From the perspective of the finite true will, there are changes that reflect the true will and changes that fail to reflect it. So for example, it's my will to get the breakfast special at IHOP, but I get there and it's closed for a holiday. My will has failed to be achieved in that act. But from the perspective of the infinite true will, there are no changes that do not reflect the will because the entire universe is actually part of you. It is part of the God that you are. And so every single change that is occurring in that universe is reflective of your true will on a very deep level. In this context, in the infinite context, love under will means something different. It means uniting yourself with the opposite of you. It means transcending opposition, or what is sometimes called duality, to make a larger and more comprehensive concept of self. This isn't ego inflation. This is creating a moving image of eternity. It is finding the expression of the divine within you out in the universe. It means coming to have radical acceptance of everything that is. This is where love under will starts to merge with the more spiritual concept of love that we find in, for example, infinite compassion or agape. This isn't sentimental love. It is an embrace of all that is. It's an attitude toward life that rejects nothing. It's beyond good and evil. This path is far more difficult to follow. It requires self-discipline and work of an intrinsically spiritual nature. It requires deeper self-understanding than the finite true will because it involves this comprehensive and ongoing unification of opposites. Understanding love under will transforms how we experience life. It starts with those small, deliberate changes and that kind of normal self-understanding that comes with the finite true will. And then it can evolve into this all-encompassing embrace of what exists through the infinite true will. But throughout, it is a journey of transcendence, connection, and higher forms of self-discovery. If this resonates with you, let me know down in the comments. How does love under will resonate in your life right now? And if you're interested in beginning the journey by bringing clarity to your finite true will, click the link down in the description of this video to see my availability for will discovery. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to continue the deep dive into Thelema and the great work. I spend a lot of time on this channel diving deeper into the fundamental concepts of Thelema, not just love under will. This video that you see on your screen right now is probably an example of one of them. Click on it, and I will see you over there.